Hey, BassGeek here, and no matter where you're at in the country, June can be one of the most confusing months in bass fishing. Some bass are still spawning, some are garden fry, some are chasing shad, some are chasing bluegill, and others are already in those summer patterns depending on where you're at in the country. But fishing geeks, no matter where you are, these 5 bait categories are going to catch you bass in June. So no matter whether you're north, as far as north even into Canada, or south as far as south down into Florida and Texas, we're going to talk about some baits that you can use to find and catch bass. One of the hardest things in June is to find those active bass. One of the easiest things to do is use a bait that's going to get those bass to react. And no matter whether that's shallow or deep, a crankbait is going to get that job done for you. So when we talk about crankbaits, June, again, depending on what part of the country you're in and depending on the type of water you're fishing, you may still be fishing square bills right now. Now, if you're a pond guy or you're throwing from the bank, a square bill is your best crankbait friend. There are a ton that I like. I mean, it's really hard to go without the 1.5 and the 2.0 from Strike King. The 100 Bandit is a good one. I know Tackle Junkie loves that one. There's just a ton of them out there. So go out there, pick you up a few, and just give them a try. They're all going to have a lot of different actions. Then you're just going to move up, right? Now, I fish a lot of clear water, so a lot of times I'm throwing a little bit deeper, what I call mid-range. You guys might call that mid-range more of that 6, 7, 5, 6, 7 sort of stuff. And the Bandit 200 really is a great bait for that. And some of the Norman baits are really good for that. But for me, when it comes to visibility, the watercolor is almost always going to be somewhere around about that 8 to 15. And depending on what lake I'm fishing around here, it could be as much as 25 and 30 feet. So a lot of times my starting baits are going to be something like this. This is the Norman. This is going to run anywhere from 9 to 12 feet. And you're going to notice now, I do love my Strike King. I mean, they're sort of the go-to for me. I've got a lot of different crankbaits out there. But a lot of times, just stick with one brand. Go with different depths, especially if you're like me. And depending on the time of year, you've got to fish from ultra shallow to super deep. And what that allows me to do is understand how each action works and the different sizes. And so here we've got one that's going to run about 12 feet deep. This is, and I love their XD series, the Strike King. This is the 5 XD. One of my go-to colors, Tennessee Shad. You really want to go ultra finesse? The Bandit 300, 8 to 12 feet on this one. I think this is the root beer. Can't remember. Now, let's start talking about the big boys. We're getting into the deep divers right here. Again, this is a Tennessee Shad. This is some sort of bluegill. This is a 6XD. This is going to get down to about 17 feet deep. I was able to get it down on a very long cast to about 20 today. Big shout out to my buddy Fluke Master. I seen this in a video for him years and years ago. If you can't remember, because I've got more crankbaits than I will ever remember what running depth they are. Take you a little Sharpie when you get them. Ride it right under the throat. Don't ride it on the bill because a lot of times it'll rub off or you'll grind it off. Ride it right there under the throat. Now, this is an 8XD. I got 20 wrote on this, but I can get this down to about 23 feet deep. So this is my DT20 box. These are from Rapala, and these are all DT20s. These are the other baits that I like to use to get down to 20 foot or deeper. And I'm slowly transferring my crankbaits that I keep with me, that I use all the time, over to the Evolution boxes. Now, what I love about these is they're deep. You can get your bigger crankbaits in here. All of it is rust resistant. It's got the water resistant seal on it. And guys, they're just made extremely durable. Love these cases in Evolution. And by the way, I do have a 20% off you can use on their website. 20% off is insane But make sure you use that code. You go check them out. For you bank anglers, they make some killer backpacks, tackle boxes, all kinds of stuff for storage. And like I said, 20% off. Jeez almighty. Now, let me show you some of these big deep divers I like to use. Now, here's 3 of my go-tos. This is the Strike King 10XD. I love this big old bait. I've caught so many bass over the years on these big 10XDs. It's just a great bait. It dives steep and deep. And that Tennessee shad color, it's just money. That bait dives down anywhere from about 20 to 25 feet deep. Now, I've had these baits for a long time. I've used them for a long time. These used to be by Profound Outdoors. I don't remember the actual name of these. They're actually owned by Bass Mooch now. There'll be links in the description to all this, by the way. We use Tackle Warehouse. It does help the channel out. So if you wouldn't mind, we don't charge like for memberships and stuff. So if you want to support the channel, use that link for us. But these are great baits right here. I love the way they're made because it's like the bill is built into the body of the bait, so you can get some really good diving action out of them. And these baits are going to get down to about 25 to 27 feet deep. Last but not least, the big M7.5 from Megabass. This is a 30+ foot diver. And let me tell you, it has got a wide wobble, so it is going to wear you out when it gets there. You can see how thin the bill is. And so it's going to dive pretty well straight down and really have this action to it that's going to get you some bites. It's going to pull you some big bass. But this sucker is going to dive, like I said, 30+ feet. I've got them in several colors. I call this the Douglas Special because this is a great little color on the Big D down there. And for June, a crankbait is number 5. One thing that really begins to happen in June is the bass begin to group up around bait fish. Shad in particular, they'll group up offshore around humps, points, ledges, you name it, they're going to be out there. Sometimes they'll be suspended up, sometimes they'll be chasing those shad. And one of the things that I love to throw this time of year because it really elicits violent strikes is a spoon. And geeks, I keep my spooning pretty simple. Now, we all know that the big spoons, well, they get the press, right? They get all the love. And I love to throw a big spoon as long as I'm around big gizzard shad. If I'm around bait fish that I know are going to be big, just like this is the big Ben Parker spoon from Nichols. I think this is the 8-inch one. Might be wrong on that. But a spoon is an incredible bait to throw to elicit those strikes. But you don't have to go with a giant spoon to catch big bass. Because Nichols also has a Lake Fork spoon. It comes in a few different sizes. I want to say it comes all the way from 4 inches all the way up to 6 inches. Now, double check me on that. I don't know exactly how long these are, but you can match pretty much any size shad you want with one of these. Now, one tip I can always give you when it comes to spoon, avoid line twist. Let the spoon drop and spin freely. Make sure you've always got a swivel on your spoon. So some of the lakes I fish, sure, they've got the bigger shad in them. I get to use the bigger spoons. But most of the lakes that I fish don't. They've got some smaller thread fin. And I've got a spoon I think comes so under the radar. And it's done so much work for me the past 3 to 4 years. Especially once we get into June and July. And that is the 1/2 ounce. You don't even need anything special to throw this on. This is the Mojo spoon. And every single one of these are from Nichols. Nichols has just been my favorite spoon forever. I've got a few different brands that I use. Some of the companies are no longer in business, and that makes me sad, but Nichols really is my go-to spoon, and this really has become my go-to size when I'm fishing for those bass out there in open water. Now, you can drop these vertical, but these aren't jigging spoons. They're what's called casting or flutter spoons. And I like to be able to cast toward the schools or toward the bass or toward the balls of shad and let these fall down through them and rip them back up. But spoons are absolutely number 4 on my list. Now, not every single bass is out there aggressively feeding on shad. And that's why you absolutely should not forget about the plastic worm in June. So no matter whether it's a super soft Senko or a true center stick from Exxon Lures, or a good durable stick bait like the Yum Dinger, or it's the Zoom Trick Worm, the Yum Finesse Worm, the MB Fat Finesse Worm from Exxon, the new Honey Dipper Worm from J-Bros, or a big ribbon tail worm, there is not a time when a worm of some type during June won't load the boat. And worms are absolutely number 3 on the list. Now, worms are great, but they can be a dragging around, if you know what I mean. I like to move a little faster, and even when the bass are pressured, there's a bait that you can throw that's still extremely natural, and that's your bigger swim baits. I really love to throw a 5, 6, 7, 8 inch soft plastic sinking swim bait, something that's going to be down on the bottom, something that I can put a big jig head on. And you geeks know I love the ledge head from Ledge Head Lures, and the Tennessee River Bling, which is his version of an underspin from Ledge Head Lures. And I will put that on a lot of different baits, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with throwing a big underspin on stuff like this. Now, this is one of my favorite. Again, I fish clear water. This is the Strike King and Ghost Shad. This is the Shad-alicious. And another great swim bait that I've been using for years, because it's got the flat sides, flat top, it's got a really tight swimming action, is this little swim bait, which is 5 to 6 inches from Bass Munitions. And swim baits, whether it be on an underspin or whether it be just on that jig head, that is absolutely number 2. But there's really only one category that from post-spawn all the way through summer, all the way into late fall, it's always going to be number 1, geeks. Because I always say it, if Topwater doesn't get your blood going, you're dead. When it comes to Topwater, there's a lot of baits that I like to use, especially because a lot of times during the summer, we're fishing from open water, shad school chasing bass. And this has to be, as I've called it for years, the clear water killer. This is the Pearl Melon from Heddon. This is the 1-knocker spook, and this thing is a bad boy. Tie a loop knot on this thing, and when you're fishing over largemouth, walk it wide and slow like a glide bait. Next is going to be the Heddon Spook Junior. This is a smallmouth catching machine. Smallmouth and spots, they love this thing. Another incredible topwater is the Yozuri 3DB. Love this in clear water. This is called Prism. You'll notice a lot of the baits that I throw during the summertime in that open water, they're either silent or they have a single tungsten knocker, a 1-knocker in them. And the reason why is because in this clear water, it calls those bass up. They don't like all the rattling, all the BBs in them. But there's a time and place for everything. And this is the Cane Walker from Berkeley. Now you'll notice it's got some BBs in it. When do I like these baits? When I've got a lot of chop, when it's raining, when there's a lot of noise and I need to make a lot of noise to get those bass to come up. A lot of splash to get those bass to come up, but I need it to sit still. And that's what's great about these, because of this weight in the back. They'll move, but they really do stay in place better than a lot of your walking baits. Now let's talk about a category. I guess you could put them in the wake bait category. The Craig might be considered another one, but most people use it, in my opinion. I mean, hey, look, if it catches fish, there's no wrong way to use anything. Carolina rig a buzzbait, if you're whacking them, do that, right? Again, I'm not going to say they fish it wrong, but they fish it mostly like a jerk bait, and it was actually modeled after this bait right here, which is the riser. What I'm talking about is the Craig. I don't fish it a whole lot, because they come in a few different sizes, but I think these two baits do a much, much better job. So this is the original riser. I think it's like 2.5 inches, maybe 3 inches long. And what I like about these baits, and smallmouth love these style baits, spots love these style baits, is that you can fish them fast. They'll wake, but you can twitch them, get them to jump and pop, and just do all kinds of things just like a fleeing bait fish. And that's why I also like this. Now, this is the Strike King Evader, which is very close to the riser, but it is a little different. It's really made for that whole evasive action. It'll wake some at the right speeds, but I really, really like this. And we caught a couple on it today while you're just kind of ripping it, jumping it through the water like a fleeing bait fish. And the other thing I like about this is they come in 3 really good size. This is the 80. They come in a size like this, which is the 70, and they come in the 92. Now I know you geeks thought, where's the poppers at, right? Well, right here they are, and these are my 2 go-to poppers. I legitimately don't use any other popper but these 2. A lot of you are going to say things in the comment section below, but I used to say it too. This is the Royal Rico popper. They are insanely expensive for a popper. And I used to say all the time, I would never spend that kind of money on a popper until 2 of my buddies talked me into doing it. And it's the only popper, straight popper, I will use right now. I've got 3 colors, I own 3, and that is pretty much it. And they're the 3 I throw. And I have thrown them for years. And if I lose them, I will replace them, but I won't be happy about it. But they just are different. I can't put into words why. I don't understand it. If it's the sound, if it's the walk, if it's the spit, the sputter, whatever. Get you one to try it. It's a lot of money. But once you go Rico, you will never go back. Next up is the Booyah Prank. Now geeks, if you've been around the channel for a long time, you've heard me sing the praises of this bait. This bait, if you're looking for a walking bait, popper, a walking popper, this is not your song and dance. This is something completely different. It's going to take you a minute to fish it. Luckily, I've got a great video on it. So stay around to the end and I will share that video with you. This is the prank because it is a popper with a crankbait bill. Now, you're not going to, fish this like a crankbait. The best way that I have found to fish this is to pop it, give it a few turns, because it has an incredible side-to-side kick, almost like a walk action. Stop it, let it come back up, and watch it get crushed. I say this all the time. This is not a gimmick, but it is the prank. And it works. If you take your time and learn how to use this bait, I have called bass up from 30 feet deep to destroy this, and it's on video. You can go watch it in the fishing videos. It is the most unique topwater bait I have ever seen. And it is always tied on for me starting in the summer, about right now. 2-3 different colors. They make some incredible colors. Hopefully, Booyah, you're going to bring out the whole bigger version in the Geek Shad color that I designed. You can't get them right now. Sorry, geeks, I've got one. And it's in like the 2 inch. So I'd love to have one in this. but I'd probably never use it if I only had one. So send me about 5. Anyway, all that being said, the prank is, well, it's my second go-to popper. All right, geeks, that is my top 5 bait categories. I really can't just say baits, all right? There's just so many good baits out there that I like to use this time of year. And really, they're like tools in a toolbox, you know? I'm not going to take a computer apart with a hammer, unless I'm really pissed off at it, all right? But we ain't going to get it back together with a hammer, okay? So everything is going to be situational. And there's a lot of other good baits out there. That's just me giving you some examples of the baits that I'm using on the lakes that I fish. So go out and find the baits that work for you, the colors that work for you, and give them a try. Now, as I always say, down in the comment section below, geeks, hey, tell me what your top 5 for June is, or just tell me what the heck you're catching them on right now. What are they eating the paint off of right now? Now, if you want to go check out that video on the prank, it is a good video. It is a good bait. Make sure you go check that video out right here. Otherwise, questions, comments in the comment section below. Like it if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. Be part of the 100% Watch Squad. All you got to do is watch the videos when they come out, 100%, and you geeks rock.